Hello everyone, and welcome to the SCARP SketchUp tutorial. Now this is intended to be an introductory tutorial for those of you who have either not used the program before or are fairly new to the program. So everything I'll be talking about here is very basic. Now this tutorial will include 4 parts. In the first part, I'll talk about the program in general. In the second part, I'll go through the layout here, as you can see, talk about the work screen here, tools on the left, and menu system on the top. In the third part, we'll go through a typical workflow so that you're familiar with how to create a 3D model from maps and satellite images that are available to everyone on the internet. And the end product will look something like this. Of course, our example will be a lot less complex, but as you can see, this is a massing model, and we will then populate it with buildings, blocks, roads, and whatnot. And in the last part, we will provide you with some extra resources for those of you who want to delve a little deeper into the program. Now, I encourage everyone to follow along, try some of the things shown in this tutorial, and if you don't understand something, pause, rewind, and you can also ask me in person. I'm Kevin, by the way. So with that said, let's get started. SketchUp is a modeling program created by Google, which can be found here at sketchup.google.com. It is a free program, so anyone can download it. Just press on this big button here, and as you can see, it's available for pretty much any operating system out there. Now, SketchUp, the most important thing to remember is that it is a polygon-based modeling program, not a NURBS-based modeling program like AutoCAD or Rhino. So as you can see, these shapes are made up of polygons surrounded by lines, which are then anchored by points. And if you look at the curves here, they are in fact straight line segments. It's not a perfect curve. So SketchUp is excellent for massing models, large building models. It's not great for organic modeling or overly precise product design, but for mocking up things and especially for building quick neighborhood models, it is an absolutely invaluable source. Alright, now to talk about the layout. As you can see, the SketchUp man is here to greet you every time you start a new file. He'll look at you no matter which way you're facing. And the most important thing you should be able to do is to navigate the screen. So to rotate, you press your scroll wheel and drag. To pan, you press the scroll wheel with the shift key to drag. And to zoom, you simply scroll in and out. Now let's go through some of these tools on the left. Selecting is important. You can also access via the space key. Make component, we'll talk about later. Paint bucket will apply materials and colors to your surfaces, and the eraser functions just like a delete key. Now these are the shape creators. You can draw rectangles, you can draw circles, you can draw polygons, you can draw any shape that you want. Now down here are modifiers. So perhaps the most important tool in SketchUp is the push-pull. It will turn 2D geometry into 3D shapes. I can push-pull any surface, up and down. I can even draw shapes on surfaces and then push that out. Now to move, rotate, and scale, we must first select it, press the move button, and you can either lock it on whichever axis you want by pressing the arrow keys. So green axis, press the left arrow key. As you can see, it locks it. Red axis, press the right arrow key. And blue axis, you press the up arrow key. Now to move it a specified distance, simply type it in. As you can see on the bottom right of your screen, right now it says 0.75. Let's move it at 1.5 meters. Type that in, press enter. Now to duplicate something, simply use the move key again, move it down, but press the control key once and it will be duplicated. The same works for scale. You can either scale completely uniform in all three directions by pressing this red button here, or scale it in 2D by this button here, or scale it in 1D by pressing this button here. Measuring tool is very important because not everything comes in at the right scale. You measure what it is in your model, measure what it is in real life, and scale accordingly. Now these buttons down here are rarely used, so I'll move on to the menu system. File, edit, and view work just like everything else. Camera is rarely used. Draw is these tools here. And tools are also made redundant here. Windows, I have some of them open. As you can see, layers is very important to keep your model organized. Entity info is also very important. It tells you which layer you're on. Right now I only have one layer 0. Another very important tool is that if you press on a surface, it will tell you the surface area. So this is very key in finding out surface areas of lot sizes, walls, or block sizes. So with that, that concludes the layout. Alright, now for the fun part. Let's try and model something that actually exists. So let's say we want to model, I just picked a random block, this one here. Now this will teach you the general workflow of how to take something from Google Maps and transfer it into SketchUp and give it heights. So what I usually do is you simply print screen, go over to Photoshop, paste it. Now you can crop out the block that you want to use. Let's just say we want to use that there. Now for larger images you can create stitches. Let's save. We'll just save it as a JPEG. It's sufficient. Sketchup tutorial. We'll call it Vancouver. Now we go to Illustrator. We will simply place that file. Let's go find it. There it is. Now notice it's fairly large. Don't worry about that. And usually we will create 2 layers. So the image, satellite image, is on 1, so we will lock it. And on layer 2, we will use a pen or a shape tool to draw out our buildings. So now I'm doing it fairly rough here, but you can see how you can create finer shapes. You can also use the pen tool, like so. Say we want to do these shapes. And one last one here. Now we can even do the blocks. And there you go. So if you select everything, let's give them no fill. Now that we have this, as you can see here, if we turn off our satellite layer, you can see that we have a block with 6 buildings on it. So we can export this as a DWG. Let's call it Vancouver as well. Just click OK. Don't worry about the size and scale as long as it's accurate within itself. Now we just wait for it to export. Go into SketchUp. We'll go File, Import. Let's import the DWG we just created. Now don't worry, the DWG will not export the image. It will only export lines. So as you can see, here are our lines. Now, as you can see, if we use T for tape measure, or you can go here and click this button, this is only 5.1 meters. Now we go to Google Maps, click on My Maps and the distance measure tool. We can use metric to measure this block length, and we see that it is in fact 101 meters. So let's just go back, make sure what this is, 5.1. We can simply launch our calculator. 101 divided by 5.1. This model has to be scaled up by 19.8 times. So now we simply click on the scale tool. Click on here once. You see how you can scale it to anything, and if you look at the bottom, it's giving us the ratios. We just simply type 19.8, press enter, press space to go back to select, zoom out, or you can press Shift Z to go zoom extends, and now our model is at the correct scale. So now all we have to do is give them faces. Now in SketchUp, if you just go from point to point within a closed loop, it will automatically create that surface. As you can see, we can go through and create surfaces for each. Now we have to find the heights of the buildings, which you can use Bing Maps and use the bird's eye view, or you can use Google Street View, or you can actually get actual heights from the architectural plans. But right now we'll just assume that these two buildings are tall, these two buildings are short, and we will just guesstimate their heights. So if we click on this button here, push, notice how it will create a height. So let's say 3 stories, 3 meters per story. We'll give it 2 stories, let's say 6 meters, just type 6. These ones are a bit taller, and if you want this building to be the same as the other one, just drag your mouse over and it will see how it will align. Same with the other ones. You can just give them a height, and there you have it. Now it's important to make them separate groups. Now watch this. If we move this, and if you want to select everything, you just triple click. Selecting once will select the face. Double click, select its bounding edges. Triple click will select everything. If you move them close to each other, you will never be able to separate them again. That's just one of Google's idiosyncrasies. So if you want buildings not to be attached, you must make them separate groups. So triple click, press G, or this button here, make them a component, say building A. So now this building, no matter where you put it, will never attach itself to something else. So you can always move it back. So you go through, do that with each building. And there you have a simple model. Now let's do this and create the block. Same as before, you press P and you can actually push it down, and as you can see, there you have a block.
Well, that concludes it for me. If you want to go a little deeper into the program, Google has some great tutorials at sketchup.google.com/training/videos. And if you wanted to do something a little less structured, YouTube has some great tutorials on not just modeling, but photo matching, lighting, rendering. And if you want to review the basics, simply click on Window and Instructor, and these basic tools will be presented to you again in a very organized manner. So with that said,
I hope you all enjoyed this tutorial and learned something. Thank you for watching. Go forth and model.